Where are we? We are on a deserted island. This island is overrun by many creatures. On this journey, you will find multiple creatures, multiple dinosaurs and such like that. Prehistoric creatures before time that we never thought would be alive, until now. So this is where our story begins, and Dinosaur Island, Carnage. Here, we call this the runway. All the way through here is nothing but prehistoric land. Let me take you a tour through the island before we start off by seeing the creatures. So, from the runway, we then come over to the old forest, filled by nothing but death. We come around here, we see this slanted part. We see the open plains, more like the abandoned plains. And we see other forests along the way. Here we see the packing rhinoceros eating on some leaves and other assorted plants. This is a bull female. Let's look for any other creatures. Quick disclaimer, any sounds you hear or anything, sorry about that. I live in a pretty small yard, so you'll hear a lot of people. And I know I said that I was going to start Dinosaur Island in the new house in that yard, but I decided to start it here. So, yeah. This video will be 20 minutes, and if it's not 20 minutes, then it'll be a few minutes longer or shorter. So stay tuned, strap in, and get ready, guys. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Not too far from the packing rhinoceros location, we see a dried up river. And as we go down the river, we see a baryonyx hunting for fish. Baryonyx has seemed to found no food in the past day, and it is starving. Baryonyxes, or at least this one, was desperate enough to even eat other creatures. Also, in the deep part of the river, we see, you would think that this is a species of crocodile, but it is actually the descendant of Sarcosuchus. Since the river is dried, it has depleted the food source on this island for many dinosaurs, including the baryonyx. The baryonyx starts digging. He tries digging for any fish. Instead, he just gets dirt in his mouth. But then he turns around to spot the Sarcosuchus blending into its environment, not too far down the river. It usually isn't this desperate, but it might just be desperate enough to hunt it down. The baryonyx has made it all the way down the stream. Or the river, I mean. And you know what that means. The Sarcosuchus has turned around to see the baryonyx trying to jump onto the creature's back. but it would be very hard for the Baryonyx's claws to pierce through the sharp armor and the dense armor of the Sarco. The Baryonyx keeps the Sarcosuchus' mouth closed while trying to suffocate it in some sort of way. The Sarcosuchus gets a grasp hold on its neck. And in seconds, the Baryonyx is dead. The Sarco begins its feast. Meanwhile, a pteranodon flies over the plains with a fish in its mouth. He's just currently caught a fish out of the dried up stream, as there are still fish that sit there. The stream has been out for only a few days, maybe 3 at max, and flies down. The pteranodons have a specific area where they nest. You may think that it's in this area, but it is actually right over here. They like to sit close to the river, and what I meant by this area is around the grass and plains. No. He eats the fish. Thousands of pteranodons land from over there all the way to where this one is. It is kind of their natural hunting zone through here. As we look, many herbivores come out, such as the Parasaurolophus. We see over here the Therizinosaurus. We go through here. We see the Euplocephalus and the sticky Moloch. But there's one dinosaur missing that should be hunting right now. That dinosaur is the Carnotaurus. And it is preying down the Euplocephalus. It moves in for the kill. It tries to hide itself in grass. The Euplocephalus is dumb and can see him. It walks up acting like it doesn't know. That swings its tail and hits the Carnotaurus right in the face. The Carnotaurus is able to flip him over. The Euplocephalus kicks him off. The Carnotaurus, very badly injured, runs off. Leaving the Euplocephalus to feast by itself. We have seen medium-sized predators. The biggest, probably the Pachyrhinosaurus. But we have not seen any large carnivorous creatures besides the Carnotaurus or the Baryonyx. But for the straight carnivores, I mean carnivores that just eat meat, we haven't seen any big ones. But something has been provoked. And a loud sound. A T-Rex comes out from the abandoned forest, which used to have thousands of Gallimimus running free And now it has none, due to the T-Rex eating their own food supply. Out of town. Now for the Euploscephalus or any of those herbivores, they don't stand the biggest chance against the T-Rex, or at least not the Stygimoloch or the Euploscephalus, maybe not even the Parasaur. But he moves in, ready to strike. See, he could kill the Pteranodon, but if you look, the Pteranodon has a very small body, which would mean that it would be probably 2 bites for the Tyrannosaurus, and this thing would be done. The wings probably don't taste good, and are nothing but just veins, weird shaped, oddly hollow bones, and yeah, just disgusting blood. Rexes need lots of guts and all sorts of heavier meat if they want to survive. So, the T-Rex doesn't go after the Pteranodon. Instead, he's thinking of going for the Parasaur. Let's cut to him there. The Parasaur is eating grass. The T-Rex is ready. He was able to sneak past everywhere through here. All these dinosaurs leave him alone as they know he's the biggest predator, but also is one of the sneakiest. The thing about the T-Rex is that he is a scavenger, but if there's no scavenging around, then he feasts by hunting his own prey. The Parasaur turns around with no time to react. The Parasaur is dead. It had no time to react. And the T-Rex starts to feast. Here we introduce one of our new main characters, which he will be getting his own series. His name is Dilo, a green Dilophosaurus. He doesn't have any sort of frill. As you know, the Dilophosaurus never had frills, or could spit acid. Or at least this species didn't have frills, or could spit acid. But he does have something very strong, and you may think it's his teeth, or maybe his bite force, but no, he has a poisonous bite. If he is able to land a single giant bite to a dinosaur of any sort, it will most likely kill them. As in his teeth there are little tiny holes about the size of, I don't know, say a ladybug. Just a little bit smaller. Maybe the size of an ant's thorax. And in there is a bunch of poison that it ejects out of its teeth after biting into the injury. Dilo is a fierce predator and very intelligent. In fact, when we introduced the Utah Raptor pack in to this island, well, actually they're in that forest over there with those ginormous trees. They're deep in there. And when they come out next time, we will introduce them, because they attacked this Dilophosaurus and he was able to fight them all off. Now, for being a main character, he'll have to fight a carnivore. And the reason he has to fight one is because there's something charging right at him. It's the injured Carnotaurus. headbutting him to the ground. Even though the Carnotaurus' horns were for display, they still do quite a bit of damage, as their horns are not hollow. Dilo gets up as he is a giant Dilophosaurus. The crest he uses to try to intimidate and display to scare the Carnotaurus. The Carnotaurus is not biting. If Dilo ends up having it happen, he could get a giant bite force from the Carnotaurus, what would end up remotely killing him. But what he's trying to do is show a method of obedience to the Carnotaurus. So the Carnotaurus will walk up and try to kill him, knowing that he's easy prey, until he does this. Just like that, Dilo runs off in a dash. He's out of breath already from running a decent distance. The Carnotaurus gets up, dizzy and confused. He then, over time, collapses, dead. And that's why Dilo is such a sneaky predator. We will see Dilo in future episodes. That's why he's a main character. Meanwhile, we rush over to the mid of the forest, which is there's no really sides of the island. It's all kind of just one big area. And there's more remoted islands, more scarier distances there, that we really can't get our crew into. We come down to see two creatures facing off, one main character and another dinosaur. I don't know if I've said this already, but there's no sides of the island. It consists all of a forest, a giant, deserted, dead forest, smaller forest. The giant Great Valley, more of the forest land, the giant Great Plains that stretches on for hundreds of miles. And the scariest of them all, the dark abyss forest that we can't even get our camera crew into. But we've been called over here because there's a great war going on between a main character and another creature. Two carnivorous creatures clash for dominance of who owns what. This is Goldie, the giant male Cryolophosaurus, and he is still decently young. Versus the Acrocanthosaurus bull male. The thing about the Acrocanthosaurus, it has a long tail and longer limbs beside its legs. Its teeth are meant for slicing through flesh, which means that it can only slice. But for Goldie, he has ginormous feet with toe claws, ginormous limbs with huge claws, and the worst, bone-crushing teeth, meant for tearing through bone and flesh at once, and a giant crest to show off. This is a clash that we were not expecting for this episode. Whoa. Oh, that's a blooper. I'm trying to prop the camera. There we go. Cryolophosaurus gets a hold of his head, which is very dangerous for the Acrocanthosaurus. The Acrocanthosaurus breaks out, slices the bottom side of his neck. Goldie then gets a hold of the Acrocanthosaurus' back. He's biting his leg. They keep flashing. Just like that, Goldie is victorious. He now owns the whole entire forest, including all of this. This used to be the Acrocanthosaurus area, as the T-Rex never showed his face, and now the Cryolophosaurus is victorious. And instead of letting the Acrocanthosaurus' body go bow, he feasts on it. Really demonstrating to the Acrocanthosaurus how strong it is, even at death. To show you the last two creatures on the island that you could expect to see in other episodes and such. Because out here in the rocky area, we see a Tarbosaurus. Not a Gorgosaurus, a Tarbosaurus. These creatures use their heads for hunting and their massive toe claws. Their arms are not too strong. They trip their prey and then beat their head against it. And they live in rocky areas such as this. They're able to maintain balance decently well, but they have to kind of sit and stand like this if they want to balance over rocks, which is mostly what they do. The top goal for them hunting is that, first, they run up with their giant teeth. They bite the creature's leg, then they flip it over in a motion, sending the creature flying to the ground. It then hits its head on the rocks, starts to bleed out, as then the Tarbosaurus starts beating the creature's rib cage, trying to either cause some sort of heart attack or, I don't know, these creatures aren't that intelligent. But behind it is a massive terror bird. These creatures are intelligent, but let's see if they get bested by a Tarbosaurus. You see, the Tarbosaurus goes up to the prey. The terror bird's already had its head busted open. The terror bird died in an instant. And the Tarbosaurus feasts. Take a good look around the island. This is where we will be for the next few days. But there's a problem. Well, not a problem. It's actually a good thing, but it's sort of a problem for us as we cannot track the dinosaurs down. We do not know where they are migrating to, but they are migrating to a different side of the island. A whole new island. Because through here is a pathway short, and they will all have to migrate to the west side of the island. Thank you for watching Dinosaur Island, Carnage, Episode 1, as it has certainly been carnage. This episode may have been sort of boring for you guys, but that is because we are showing off what dinosaurs are on the island. Thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.